Well, hello everybody. I'm Hal,
And I'm Melanie.
and we want to welcome you to another episode of Making Biblical Family Life Practical. Yet another chapter in our Corona Chronicles as we navigate all the choppy waters of a lockdown here in our southeastern state here. Uh, so what's up in you here? We decided not to go anywhere. We're just kind of hanging around home these days, and
Yeah, someone asked me, "Are you available to do something next Tuesday night?" And I said, "Well, it's not like I have anywhere to go."
yes, where would I be? Yeah. No, but actually, again, we've talked about this a little bit, that although we are not traveling to conferences, we are online with a lot of events, and we're doing a lot of stuff at home. So actually, we're not, universally available, even though we are right here.
How one of the challenges of this time, though, is you can't do the stuff you plan to do.
Well,
Because
like
we would normally be on the road this whole time.
and since we have a student graduating from college next year, or graduating from high school rather,
Yeah.
we would be making college visits all this spring and into the summer because that's what we did with his older brothers.
Yes, but not doing it this time.
We're not going to do it this time.
And so today we have a special guest, Lee Benz, the home scholar. Hi, Lee. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
So
Thanks for having me.
that is a big question because, life does go on even if the schools are shut down. We've got a student who's graduating from college, but commencement has gone away. So it's just a matter of finishing the classes and checking the box. And
he's not happy about that.
Not happy. But you know what? We've got kids that are going to graduate from high school, and they need to get the ball rolling on applications and making decisions about the kind of college they hope to attend.
And he wants to win scholarships. And one of the big things, if you want to win a scholarship, is showing interest to the college. Because, see, folks, scholarships are recruiting tools. And they have a limited number of them, and they want to give them to someone who is actually interested in the college. Because if they send that scholarship offer to someone who's not going to come, they've wasted that recruiting tool. Because they can offer it again later to somebody else, but it doesn't have that same punch as it does in those early days. So, Lee, what are you hearing, and what are your thoughts about this?
Oh, thanks for asking and for having me. This is such a difficult time, especially for seniors, both college seniors and high school seniors. They're just in flux. And for people that are looking toward college admission, it's really hard because there are no SATs and ACTs right now. It's hard to locate them. It's hard to take them. Will it work out okay for them to be going online? And I think we can take a certain amount of comfort in knowing that we're all in the same boat, right? Everybody across the nation and the world is struggling with those same issues. How do I find a college, et cetera? I think it's important to remember that as homeschoolers, though, we do have some advantages because many of the public and private schools have ended for the entire year. Many of them have moved toward pass-fail. And if you have pass-fail classes and you don't have an SAT or ACT score, that can look pretty bad. And, as a homeschooler, we are able to finish our transcript, finish our courses, even if it takes till October. We can get it done, And so that can kind of mitigate the problems with SAT, et cetera. And I did want to mention that's why your homeschool transcript is more important than ever, because it really can compensate for an awful lot. But I did want to talk about what you can do to demonstrate interest in a college, because you're right. All they really want is somebody that really will attend. If they're given admission and scholarship, will they go? Because they're ranked on whether or not people go when offered things. So they want to be absolutely certain that the person that they've admitted is going to attend, but more than that, attend for all 4 years, no matter what happens, no matter what COVID does, even graduate from there, no matter what the future holds. And so they're looking for students that really love them and frankly, love that college enough even to do online college and stay there if that's what's required for the next 4 years for them to graduate.
Because when people don't graduate, it tremendously hurts their rankings.
It really does. If you've ever wondered, how do they get ranked, the top 100 colleges. That's
Mhm.
how did they keep people 4 years? Did people who were admitted stay, right?
Yeah.
So a couple of things that I think are really easy for people to do is to engage on social media, which
Mhm.
sounds funny, but there colleges in this online thing, the college advisors, the college counselors, the admission folks, they don't interact with people in person. So they're more and more likely the person who is actually on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
And if their
Mhm.
social media manager doesn't know the answer, they'll tell the admission person to answer. So they
Yeah.
really are, I think, probably for the first time interacting some.
Well,
Which
let me interject on that because, we know homeschooling families who have been very hesitant about introducing their young people into the social media world because it's like a big city. There's a lot of good there. There's some questionable
a
things that
lot
are
of that.
and so, when you say, okay, now I've got a high school senior, I've got a 17 and a half year old or whatever, they really do need to be learning to use social media, don't they? Even if they haven't up to this point.
Responsibly, which is the challenge, the social media and responsibly. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they need to learn to use it like Christians. And
Exactly.
they're far more likely to do that if you do introduce them while they're still in your home, rather than waiting until they're out of your home.
Or you can coach them.
Yeah, or you can coach them, where you can keep an eye on it, where you can say, honey, let's talk about this.
Yeah,
And
because they do need to portray themselves as a moral adult, right, rather than an immoral teenager. So,
well, and even our really good kids can struggle with this because they don't have a worldly perspective. And so they may not realize that a picture of them with their friends holding red Solo cups, those red Solo cups may be full of lemonade, but everyone at the college who sees it is going to assume it's full of beer.
That's right.
And our kids may not understand that the cool picture of them shooting skeet looks like a kid who's into guns to an admissions officer.
Yeah.
So our kids just need coaching with their social media before they start interacting with the colleges.
I completely agree.
So that's your first point, that in this time, do you think that's true even outside of the lockdown, shutdown, COVID-19 world we're in now?
I think keeping your profiles clean, absolutely. That is always a big deal because they will go check your social media across the board. They'll check everything. But it used to be they would do that when they wanted to give somebody money, scholarship money. They would go and they would check their social media profile, and it was a one and done, and they'd scroll all the way through or whatever. I think the difference is now they're more likely to be on their own page or accessible by their own Facebook page or their own Instagram page. So I think that's the change.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I think everybody's paying more attention to it because we're all home.
Yes,
that's the best. That's the best. Yeah. So,
isn't that awesome? Okay, so and then the next thing you can do is you can actually visit the campus by virtual tour, and that's what the colleges has spent this entire last 2 months doing. They put everything on hold, and they've just been working on how do we have a campus visit when there's nobody on campus and nobody can come, right? So they've been really working on that. But what you need to do is to make sure that when you take those virtual tours, you have allowed cookies, because you literally want them to track you. Okay. You want them to know.
Because that tracking is how they determine that you are truly interested.
The interest, exactly. And so it used to be when you were visiting, you would call and you would make an appointment. They would know your name. They would welcome you, and they knew you took a tour, and they knew what class you took, and they knew you ate on campus, et cetera, because they used the coupon, right, for the meal. Well, so that now the only way that you can be tracked is if you allow cookies, and they will actually look at your computer IP address and be able to check how many interactions you've had with their website. Okay. Which can freak people out. But it's a good thing for you to be doing. And then after you do that virtual visit, the same sort of process happens after that. You ask some follow-up questions.
Yeah.
This will be by email. Maybe you could call the admission advisor, certainly not too often, but at least once, to speak to them, tell them who you are, what city you're from, so that they can say, okay, they took the virtual tour, they live in Seattle, they're probably this IP address, that's the computer, and they'll keep those details together. So they'll know how many times have you visited? Are you a frequent visitor? Do you frequently go to their Facebook page or interact that way? And so that's how you can do that. Now, the other thing you could do is
have a plan for that, because when Hal and I applied to college, how many colleges did you apply to?
One.
I applied to 3. Most of our kids have applied to 10 or more.
Yeah.
Because with so many more people applying to college, if you've got to have a scholarship, you've got to apply to a bunch of colleges. So you need to have a plan. This isn't going to be something you do every day. This is something you're going to be doing over the next few months.
Right. It's a long process. So to continue that online checking them out, then you would ask them if you can attend an online class session, just like when you're doing a visit. They're all online, right? And that will help you to figure out how well is it going to work next year, because many colleges now are talking about they don't know when they can open, and maybe it will be October, November, but maybe it won't be until January, second semester, right? And so having that online class can give you a lot of information about how well prepared are they. Will it still be able for me to start college on time should this continue? It really helps you be prepared.
Now, that's good advice, especially for those who have seniors. This is National Decision Month, where you have to make your final decision about where you're going to college by April 30th. So if you've got kids who are making that decision, seniors, that's a great thing to recommend.
Well, that had not occurred to me, but you're quite right, Lee, because that is part of a good comprehensive campus visit, to get to sit in on a freshman class and kind of see what's the tone there. And if classes are online, that may be what you experience when you matriculate in the fall. And so that makes good sense. I like that.
Wow. So it's everything is so different.
It's extremely different. And I think that's something that, again, we're all in this together, right? But I think that we can really expect our colleges to extend their reply date. They don't want everybody to say no because they're all locked down. So many of them are saying you can take well past the national candidate reply date, and they're extending that. The other thing is, if you do have a senior, many of the colleges are expecting people to have a parent just laid off just this week, right? And so they're expecting to see financial appeals. They're expecting to see people requesting a deferral, right? I'm not going to start now. I'm going to defer until next year. And people taking gap years. I simply can't come this year. I'm going to be delivering groceries for a year. And, keep in mind, that's not a bad thing. These are our emergency workers right now. These are our Army right now,
And people in the colleges understand that, and they're trying to survive too. So they recognize that they're going to lose some kids who came home and just can't manage it online.
Right.
And who, I know one of the colleges one of our kids goes to now is a college that has a high proportion of first college student, in the family.
First in the family.
First in the family to go to college, and they're very concerned about losing kids along the way right now.
Extremely.
Because, I know my son knows he doesn't have a choice. He's got to get his score done. Mom will kill him.
Right.
But
it's not just the ranking either. It's they have to stay financially afloat. They have to have enough students in order to get financial aid, in order to pay their professors. It's all tied up together. like, many business budgets are. So,
Yeah, this is a great conversation, Lee. Let's come back in just a minute and take this a little further, because I've got a lot more questions and things we want to talk about with you. Folks, we want to encourage you while you're home with kids that are going crazy, that Craftsman Crate, our subscription box, may be just the answer. It teaches artisanal skills, and it has everything you need. No trips to the store, not even to the Walmart pickup, because it has everything you need to accomplish it. And it has real tools, real things. This isn't the box of papers that some subscription boxes are. It teaches you to do hobbies that you might enjoy the rest of your life.
Right.
So check out craftsmancrate.com, and you can use new crate 1010 to get $10 off your first box. So
I got to chime in and just say, and it's super cute stuff, like from a mom, what you just mentioned, super cute stuff. Okay, go ahead.
We do that all the time. People love it. I was on Instagram this morning and saw someone had gotten an advance copy of the box that's going out next month, which is Scrimshaw, and had done some incredible Scrimshaw. It was really beautiful. And so, I think people enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
One thing I want to bring up is that if you have a high school junior, when it comes to October and you're filling out the FAFSA, they will ask you for 2019 data, and for a lot of people, that's not going to be accurate.
No, it's not, because 2020, all bets are off, and I would not be surprised, although they have not announced changes. I would not be surprised if changes do come down the pipe, simply for that reason.
Yes.
And I think Lee said this several times in the first segment, and I've got to I just want to underscore this. Everybody is dealing with it. Yeah. It's not a matter of, my poor college, or, my poor school. I'm not going to be competitive. Everybody
all over the world.
Everybody's
family in Asia, they're dealing with it.
Everybody's boat is swamped. Everybody is flooded out. We are all dealing with it. So
there's going to be adjustments.
So take a breath.
You don't have to panic. Yes. You don't have to freak out. Everybody's going to be adjusting. And so what do you do if your EFC comes back too high? You can appeal to their financial aid department, right?
Okay, we need some definitions here. Okay, FAFSA is the
federal aid, I don't know what it stands for federal student aid.
Okay. Free application
for federal student aid. Okay. It's what you fill out. If you're going to college, you've got to fill it out, basically.
That is kind of your baseline for their calculation of how much financial aid they're going to offer.
Right.
Now,
and yes, it is intrusive and long.
Yeah, and that's just the way the game is. Now, the EFC is your estimated family contribution, correct?
Yes.
And so that's what the college looks at your financial records and says, we think you can afford to pay X.
Yeah.
True. Keeping in mind how the government decides on what people can afford is just an awesome thing, right?
Oh. So, as our children grow up and leave home, that's changing for us too. For the children that are left, the aid goes down, as we have fewer children home. But a lot of people are going to get an EFC that looks like it's too high, that they can't afford. And so talk to us about appealing.
Right. So usually, you'll start with your admission advisor, usually. Talking to them about your financial situation. My guess is that because the whole world is under this same situation, they are going to be modifying it somehow. Now, I'm not really sure how they're going to modify it based on what they did with small businesses. It wouldn't surprise me if they based your income based on the first half of 2020 rather than the whole year. But it's really difficult to say. But what I do know is that the federal government is very concerned with helping college students and helping colleges stay afloat in the midst of this. What they don't yet know is how much money is going to be available. So if you do have a senior right now is the time to be reaching out and saying, I need to have that looked at. Again, this is not, our whole family is directly affected. our whole family has been laid off or experienced this or that. And that can really make a big, big difference in the financial that they give. I will say one thing about the international students is that many colleges have said they expect to see 0 international students. And for some colleges, that is a huge number. And so they're more willing to help out more students because they need to fill a certain amount of slots, right?
Yeah.
And so it might be good news.
Yeah.
Now, excuse me, one thing to kind of underscore there, and this has always been the case, earlier action is better, especially if you're looking at financial aid.
Let's not say early action though, because that has a specific
Oh, I'm sorry,
meaning.
that's true. Okay,
That's a specific meaning.
pretend I did not
But
use that
applying
phrase.
earlier is better than applying later.
Yes.
For financial aid, for academics, for everything.
Okay.
The sooner you get your application in, the more likely you are to get the financial help you need to be in time for scholarship deadlines. Some scholarship deadlines are as early as September.
Well, and see, as we, as small business owners with the financial aid that's being offered to small businesses, that door opened and shut real quick because so many people are looking for help. So many people are needing assistance that the pool of money that was available was tapped really fast. And that's going to be in the colleges too, I think.
So early.
Early. Yes, what I tell people is however you apply early action, early decision, any fancy words out there, right? Whatever your personal deadline is, you try to beat that by a month. So that's what we mean when we say apply early. Okay. Whatever your deadline is, beat it by a month. Right.
And that allows room for things to happen because, it's our 6th son that is a junior this year.
Number 6. And
so we've been through this a few times. And inevitably, you'll get the flu or your child will get the flu or something will happen or his teacher assigns him, he's taking an online class, his teacher assigns a huge research paper. Something will happen to make it hard for you to meet that deadline.
That's right.
If you put your personal deadline a month earlier, then you've got some wiggle room.
Right. Of course, true confession, my deadline, I was determined to do it a month early and I made it 2 weeks early, but I'm still saying it was early, right? So that's why you aim for a month so you can hit it, reasonably.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Let's talk for a few minutes about good questions to ask when you call your admissions officer. And it's always good to ask if you're a homeschooler, is there an admissions officer who specializes in homeschoolers? Because frequently colleges do have admissions officers that specialize in us.
Right.
Let's talk about good questions to ask them. And then let's talk too about, it's also good to contact the head of the department you might be interested in. And good questions to ask.
That's what I was going to say. That's my number one question, is to make sure that whatever it is you're interested in and possibly pursuing for a major, find out, can you speak to that department head? And, often the answer is yes. They would be eager to talk to real students. They're kind of gauging the student to see whether they really are interested. Have they thought it through at all? Or is it something that mommy or daddy is making them do,
And that brings up another point. Mom and dad, don't do this. Do not make those calls. It does zero good. In fact, it does harm if you make the call.
Out of the room.
Yes.
That's
That doesn't mean you can't prepare your child. We've had some children that were very nervous about this, and we did role playing before they made calls, and before we did contact visits, and that can be really helpful. But you can't make the call for them.
That's right. That's right.
So what should they ask their admissions officer?
I'm sorry?
What should they ask their admissions officer?
So the other thing I would suggest is that they contact them to ask about faith groups on campus, to see if they, what are the popular church groups or Bible studies, so that you can try to find a church home at that university. And I think, that's really important for Christians.
Well, that's something that our older sons had told us about their experience on campus. They said they found that if an incoming freshman gets involved in a local church and one of the Bible studies or fellowship groups on campus within the first 3 weeks, then they're
Mm-hmm.
probably going to stick around. They're probably not going to go adrift. But if they let it slide, then it becomes awkward to show up in the middle of a
Yes.
semester, and then they get out of the habit, and it's
Yes.
real easy to just let things fall away. And so they really
Exactly.
they put a lot of effort as upperclassmen into getting those freshmen plugged in. And even if you're not going to be on campus, one of the things we found when we made actual campus visits was we would try to find one of those groups, from
Right.
crew or InterVarsity or whatever, and talk to the
CRU,
campus
by the way,
minister.
crew, CRU. That freaks people out, the spelling. Okay.
They call it crusade. They call it crew now. But anyway,
because that's not politically correct.
right. But we talked to one of the campus ministers privately to say, hey, what's the climate here?
And often you find it's very different than it's been portrayed. I remember going to a Southern Ivy, and they it had a church connection, and so it appeared to be a friendly place for Christians. But when we actually sat down and talked to a campus minister, to someone who was leading one of the campus groups, we found out no, it was very hostile to Christians.
And you need to know that.
You need to know that, and you may still choose to go there, but you're going to have a different plan.
You'll be forewarned.
You're going to have to prepare yourself. But so when you ask about faith groups on campus or about other groups on campus, you can also find that stuff out from the website, and often there's an email address where you can contact them.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't find a faith group on campus, you can contact the National InterVarsity Fellowship, National Crew Leadership, and ask them for contact for that campus.
Yes.
And if you can't find any groups on campus, that tells you something too.
You got a bigger problem, yeah. That's right. And I think it's also worth noting that, even though there are specific questions to ask, it's always good to make sure that you have read their admission policies, you know what they want, you're asking any follow-up questions about what really is required for admission, if something is special required of homeschoolers, for example. And when you're doing that, just keep in mind that they're trying not to put any impediments between you, and your money, right? They want you to go, they want your money. And so they're trying to make it really, really easy for you to apply. So they may say that they're test optional or whatever. But at the same time, if you're looking for scholarships, you really want to exceed expectations and give them more than they're asking for. And so if they say that they're test optional, that they probably are, and they probably won't give you scholarships either unless you provide that. And course descriptions, letters of recommendation. If they have application essays and they say, "Oh, we'll waive that for you,"
Never waive an essay.
Never waive an essay. Always write the essays. Okay, no matter how many they say are optional, write them.
And even if you have a struggling learner, it is okay for that struggling learner to dictate their essay to you.
Yes,
that is fine. But don't turn down the essay.
Exactly.
Admissions committee gets to know you. That's what separates you from everybody else.
I think I'll interject here. We do have an episode back in the archives about attending college without going bankrupt in the process, and we talk a lot about this whole financial aid picture, and so a lot of that, the part is from home, that's over email or the phone or whatever else, that continues on. It's the on-campus visits that have become largely impossible for now.
Well, we are nearly out of time. I feel like we could talk about this for 2 hours.
Well, let's get Lee to tell our listeners briefly.
Yes.
What are you about?
Yeah, tell us about your business and ministry.
Sure.
About how you can help people and how they can find you.
Okay, yeah. So my mission is actually to help people homeschool through high school. So my focus is on helping the parents that have a 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grader. And so I help them learn how to homeschool high school. I help them learn about tests, learn about college admission, learn to be the best possible college coach that they can be for their students. So you don't have to pay, $70,000 for that, right? So I am the teacher to the mom and dad, right? I do again want to mention that I think your homeschool transcript has never been more important. And I do help people to make their homeschool transcript. So if you go to totaltranscriptsolution.com, then you'll get information on how to make a homeschool transcript very quickly. It has multiple templates that you can use and plenty of training, no matter what the situation, no matter how unique your child, you'll find the information that you need to make a great and official homeschool transcript. My website is homehighschoolhelp.com because my goal is to provide home high school help for you. So that's what I do.
All one word, no spaces or dashes.
That's right.
Homehighschoolhelp.com. Excellent.
That's right.
Well, we've been talking with Lee Benz, the home scholar. We're talking about how do you express interest in college when you can't actually show up anymore? And Lee, we do appreciate your insight on it. It's a strange world, but God is still on the throne, and there's still a pathway through this as we all learn the new normal right now. So, look, we want to thank all of you for joining us. We're here every week, and you can also find us in our archives at halandmelanie.com/radio or anywhere fine podcasts are available, such as Apple Podcasts and
iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.
Right.
And we would love to hear from you. Mm-hmm. Go out to our site at raisingrealmen.com. Mm-hmm. Let us hear from you and give us a review, okay?
Okay.
Thanks,
we do appreciate you joining us and hope you join us next time as we talk about taking biblical principles into the 21st century family. Until next time, I'm Hal.
And I'm Melanie.